So we are live. I love it. All right, welcome everyone to a new episode of the Women's Empowerment Series. And I have a beautiful and amazing guest with me today, Vero Diaz, connecting from Canada. So nice to have you with me. So, the Women's Empowerment Series is a series where we invite female leaders from around the world who are sharing their story, sharing the work they do, and how they are thriving to impact the world around them. And it's a lot of focus on women, but we also have a lot of women working with different, categories, with corporates, with institutions. So, it's really nice to have you. Very welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor. We've been looking forward for this.
Me too. So I'm gonna let you introduce yourself and tell us
Okay.
about you. Who is Vero and what do you work on?
Yeah, for sure. So, Vero Diaz, like Dr. Hynd said. So right now I'm working with women usually and non-binary folk, um, executives, professionals who are searching to find themselves a little deeper, to connect to that inner voice, and basically to belong to themselves. So
Yes.
yeah, so I've created a aligned heart framework.
Uh-huh.
I love uh, studying, learning. So I'm constantly learning.
Hmm.
So through my master's program, I researched earth-based technology
Mm,
practices, techniques.
wow.
Um, yeah, to get us into that space of belonging, of embodiment, and
Right.
basically like somatic experiencing. It's now being called kind of like eco psychology, a little bit of mindfulness practice, and also indigenous spirituality.
Okay.
So
Wow. So you
yeah,
go back to the roots.
yes, that was my goal since the beginning. I really want to
Incredible.
go into it.
Yeah, I love that because more
Thank
we
you.
connect with our roots, more we find the inner power, really.
Yes, definitely. I 100% agree with that.
How
Yeah.
can you explain that? You work with executives. How can you
Mhm.
make them feel that more they understand that, more it's actually valuable for them to be promoted, to be respected? There are two different things, and that's where the challenge is.
Definitely, and especially for women or embodied, like in this feminine body, it's super important to claim that for ourselves because of like the how the world is very masculine,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
I know there's a drive to then strive to that kind of image of it could be like attitudes, it can be in a way to even like start to try to speak in that kind of like what's perceived masculine.
Mhm.
And so my goal is to, instead of going into that, and to be like, okay, more like let's go deeper, deeper
Okay.
into what is the foundation. So I use a lot of imagery. So I would say for those who are like, executives and we're in that striving and
Right.
like solutions, right? You got to get it's like
Absolutely.
fast, right? So it's
Fast,
like,
and you need to work hard, and you need to stay for long hours.
yeah,
Absolutely. Yes.
exactly. So I would say, okay, if we're a tree, let's
Uh-huh.
say, it's really assessing and strategizing and be like, okay, if I'm a tree, how is my soil?
Mm.
So we'll look at that, and you can look at different aspects of your life. So that's what I work with my clients. It's looking at the psychosomatic, the energetic, looking at the like a mental, which is part of the
Mhm.
psychosomatic, but really looking at that and like family dynamics, and
Mm.
then we go deep into your inner child. So
Okay, so you go
no,
into the history and their paradigm, how it will all
yes,
shift and
yeah.
formed. Yeah.
And then going to in terms of the roots, also like the cultural roots, like where we come from, where family is from. So maybe like some of us are like in the north of the Americas or states, Canada. It's like where my people are
Mhm.
living in, and
Mhm.
so we might be from different backgrounds, like yourself. I'm not sure where your roots are from, but you're like practicing Ramadan, right? So
Yes,
now, like,
I'm from Morocco, and today is the
okay,
first day, which is good. So we're gonna wish everyone who's watching us and who's actually starting Ramadan today a blessed month and a beautiful month. Yes.
yes, I was gonna drink. You know what? I'll drink after. Be with
Uh-huh.
you guys. So, yeah, so like really respecting like where we come from because I'm sure you know like the paradigms come from our families,
They
from our
do.
society.
From culture, from everything we absorb through the years. Yes.
Exactly. So if we're like in different circles, like we'll say like we're in school, we're in like in the international kind of bubble,
Mhm.
American or Canadian or wherever
Mhm.
we are. And then
Mhm.
we have our family, and
Mhm.
then maybe our grandparents are in like a separate kind of subgroup of,
Yes.
so it's a lot of different circles. So those would be like the within our soil. Like
Mhm.
what are the different elements of our soil, then what from that nourishes us and really gives us that special trait. Because as an executive, it'd be like, what is your superpower, right? So what can
Mhm.
you really highlight? And I like to work on that. It's like highlighting the positive, or the strengths, because positive, negative, it's kind of like a perspective, but more like the strength. Where can we like develop?
Yes.
And
I
sometimes
like
as female, oh sorry, you want to,
Yeah.
should I continue? Okay, as
Yes.
female, something that I'm in love right now is that a lot of the things that we think are negative are actually our power.
Incredible. That's true, but we don't see it. That's the
Hmm.
thing. And so
Yes,
when you think it's negative, you shy away from showing up, from, you know,
yes,
and you
yes,
impact your confidence. Yes.
exactly,
Mm.
exactly. So really rooting in that, because as we know the soil, then it's like looking as a tree. You look at like, okay, well, what kind of tree am I? So
Mhm.
like, okay. So then we look at, are you like a bamboo that's flexible, then moves with the wind and kind of like dances all around, but it's super and
But
just
it's
like
like,
grows fast.
yes.
Uh-huh. Slim.
I
Or are
like
you more
that
like an oak?
image. Okay.
Thank
What
you.
about the other one?
Yeah.
The
Right.
oak?
Let's see, like what would you be? Let's see, let's do an example.
Mhm.
What would you be?
I don't know. You tell me. Can you actually tell
Mm,
just by looking?
yeah, I'm like sensing. I feel like you're very elegant. You're
Okay, thank
kind.
you. Uh-huh.
There's an intelligence and sharpness. Like, so there's fastness. Um, I would say you're like a tree that gives fruit. You're like a fruit tree because I feel
Yeah,
like you're like community. You
I
like
am.
to give.
I do.
Uh, what came to me, it was like a fig tree.
Fig. I like that. And it stayed so good.
Right? They're so yummy. And then the fruits can even be like dried. So
Yes.
like
So it's
everlasting
used forever.
nourishment. Uh-huh.
I love
Exactly.
that. And we
So
have so much. I have a lot of that in my house. It's really
oh
nice
really?
too.
Yes. Nice.
Very
I
good.
love that.
I
Thank
very
you. Yeah,
connect
that's a,
with the figs and I connect with the grenadine. What is it? Pomegranate? Attends,
oh,
grenadine.
pomegranate. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh,
I
that's
connect a
beautiful.
lot with
Oh
that
yeah.
tree because
Mm.
it's fertility, it's giving, it's growing. That's what I always feel. Do you
Oh,
compare women to that at all?
to the trees or to
Yes, the
the
grenadine. How do you call it? Grenadine? Did you call it grenadine? I'm trying to
pomegranate? I think
no, is
grenadine is a style. I mean,
no, I don't. I'm trying to find the right
grenadine.
word in so that we say it properly. But these are it represents women, it represents grenadine.
Oh,
Yeah,
pomegranate.
pomegranate, yes.
Ah, yes. This is a beautiful universal symbol. Yes.
Yes.
That's perfect. I can
It
see
is.
that.
You
Yes.
see? And so I mean, to me, in the way I see it, so like I love to have paintings with that, or I just love it. It just has such a representation
Hmm.
of you know, deliciousness, beauty, fertility. It's just
Mhm.
like, you mentioned community, so you share whatever fruit is because there are so many of
Yes.
them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
love it. And I
Yeah.
love that, yeah, this like even the color,
The
it's
color.
such a luscious color, and in every little, like within this pomegranate there's little seeds, so it's just like this infinite kind of
Infinite
endless.
growth, yes. See?
Yes.
And it's the same feeling in the figs as well. There are the seeds. I mean, they are made. So
Yeah.
it's really, so we are I mean, we have the same senses of the images. That's how I see it. Yeah.
Yes, definitely. And I feel like this is what we can bring into our careers, into our different roles that we have. And as an
Yes.
executive woman, is how can we bring this sensuous sensuality, like this fertility and
Uh-huh.
exponential, like
Force of life. I mean,
limitless.
when you say
Exactly.
fertility, it's really what we mean is the force of life. And
Exactly.
when you work with women and you connect them back to that creation, to the miracle of life. And it's interesting that we have this conversation today. In
Mhm.
one of my programs today, we have one program in French, which is called Renaissance. Renaissance means
Mm,
like being reborn, and being
mhm.
reborn is really growing out of what you said negative, what we think is negative, what we any setback, any problems, because we are faced with so many challenges often, and to be able to come out of it takes a strong inner force of life, connecting. It's what we
Yes.
do, right? It's like finding your roots, like it's almost closing in, finding your roots, and
Mhm.
charging up back up again.
Exactly. Yes, definitely. And I love to do that with my people, to um, allow ourselves to give ourselves permission to
Yeah.
really be in that like expansion, right? Like you said. And one of the things that I would love to share is like giving ourselves permission to receive,
To receive.
for then also to expand with that receiving from our own communities, receiving from the earth, our own
Mm,
creativity, and our own genius. That we can,
RG.
yeah, we can, in fact, be even more and more um, expansive and genius, like limitless. Yeah,
That's incredible. So your
it's
work
so
is
good.
very spiritual.
Yes, indeed.
As That's incredible. That's very, and more I work on energetics. So I've been focusing on that this past three
Mhm.
years, really. More I
Yes,
see how business is completely spiritual. Everything
yes,
we do, in fact, there is that energy in it. Have you always
yes.
been this way, or is just something that you realized somewhere?
Um, no, I've always been this way.
Really?
Spirituality has always been one of my passions and curiosities of life.
Yes.
Yeah, like
Do you
as a teenager, I wanted to be a nun
really?
a
Okay.
little
Okay.
bit.
So it has been a long time. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Is it
But
from a family? Is it your grandparents? Is it your
um,
parents? Where do you get that from?
uh, I mean, I do come from a family, very strong family of, I would say, medicine. I like to describe it in these words of spiritual medicine. I'm from
Yes.
Mexico,
Okay.
so from different lineages. There's different words that you used, but like for example, my grandpa, he had healing hands,
Yeah.
and like he didn't learn it anywhere. It was just like an innate a gift, and
Of
he
course.
would
Yes.
just be like,
Incredible.
oh, okay, can you me puedes sobar? It's like sobadores. So he's
See.
and he
So he
was
will
very,
touch
very spiritual.
someone and makes him feel good.
Yeah, yeah. Same as like a lot of my aunts as well. All the females, like my mom's side is like full of females, and when we gather,
Uh-huh.
this force field it
That's
starts
fun.
to happen. And as a kid, I used to hear a lot and see things.
Uh-huh.
So when these my mom's cousins and my aunts would gather in like my grandma's home, I
Uh-huh.
would start to see and hear more, and I would be like, okay, you guys, you have to stop because then and then they start talking about spirituality. It was just like one of the topics of our family, since everybody sees or hears or has healing hands, but nobody had ever really kind of like dedicated to that.
Yeah, use that as a service they can provide or as a value. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So
But they
then
had that gift. So everyone
yes.
around you had that gift.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
scary in the
mostly, yeah.
beginning, right? You're like, this is scary.
Yeah, and mostly because as a kid, because I had these gifts, I know, and if you are a mother and have a child with a different kind of situation, maybe you don't recognize it's like a gift, but if they're being scared at night,
Yeah.
and almost all children, like it could be things that it could be from within or the outside. Like I would be scared a lot, like
Mhm.
a lot of nightmares and like
Oh, really?
things would knock in my window and like so so this would happen, and that's when I shut it down.
Okay.
So until I was in my 20s, early 20s, and this is something that I've discovered too. Um, it's in a lot of traditions, and when a woman, I'm studying more women
Okay.
medicine journey, but
Mhm.
when they're in their early 20s, um, I'm like, how deep do I go? I'll just keep it more in the surface. I would love to come back, or like if people want to hear me more,
Yes, I
like
think
follow
I'm
me.
sure I think people are listening. This is such a unique conversation, but I loved it because I think it's important to be able to understand the spiritual side of things, which we don't
Yeah.
talk about a lot, as it doesn't look very executive like, because
Mhm.
executive, you just plan, you strategize, your vision, you plan. Yet for that strategy and the plan to to life,
Yes.
it's energetics behind it. Yeah.
Yes. And
Mm.
then there's blockages or in other traditions like called karma.
Yes.
So
Mhm.
it's like really understanding like what is it that is blocking or is creating a resistance, right?
Mm.
So, but to finish with the kids, I do want to, if you're a mother, you're like, oh, what happened to the kids? One thing is that it might be that the kid is really hypersensitive, as very attuned, or has some psychic gifts or
Mm.
spiritual gifts of listening, of hearing, sensing. And there might be that they can't sleep because maybe two houses down, there's someone who's ill or who's someone who's actually passing into, and going a mejor vida, going transitioning, and they're feeling it. So yeah, so to consider that if your child is having a bad time sleeping, that could be a thing to consider. But in terms of like in terms of the executive life, oh, if you really align to your spiritual gifts, it will give you
I think
so much. Because then if you're in a meeting and you're like, should I? It's like it sparks, right? And if there's clarity within you, you can an idea, the solution that your boss is asking, or like the CEO, and you're like, it's there. You receive it, you say it, it's done. You get the
wow.
part.
It's like you you just aligned. You're aligned and you
Yeah,
respond to exactly what the other person wants to say.
honestly, and it can save you so many time, so much money. Even like, oh, should I consider this strategy with this company? Should we do like a partnership? And then if you're really attuning to your heart, attuning to your subtleties, it's like, oh, how do I receive a yes? How do I receive a no? How do I receive information? And you're like practicing and practicing, and then you're doing this deal, and then something says no. However way, it could be like through a stomach pulse, it could be through your heart, and like compression, or it can be like a no, a word,
I know,
or you
yeah.
can see it like a stop sign. Like depends how you receive, and then you're like, and you listen and you say, okay, let me consider the message coming through. And then you could, you're like, let's wait a little bit, and then maybe 2 days pass, and then you do a little bit of more research about them, and you discover something that is not.
So you actually channel the information.
Yes.
It's being
Yeah.
able to channel things at the right
Yes.
time. And
Yes.
not just
Exactly.
channel it, but actually understanding what you've channeled.
Exactly. It's like
That's what
understanding and be
happened.
able to have the courage to to choose or to understand that it is information that is
Yeah.
good for you. Because
Yes.
that's a process, right? To be like, am I crazy? Like, is that even valid? Because the world is like only what's written and
Yeah.
what is, in a specific way, a format is what is true or
What's
valid.
accepted, basically. It's what's
Exactly.
accepted. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when it's just completely off, it's not off, it's like when you have a hard time justifying things and how it came to you, then it becomes
Exactly. That's why
okay.
I did not go to my PhD because
Well,
there's so much you have to justify almost like every word. No, I'm exaggerating, but there's so much that you have to justify in whatever is already um justified. So it's like
okay.
a level of justifications. But at the time that I was doing my master's, oral traditions and like for example information or knowledge that was passed down generation by generation, not through a scientific Western lens, was not considered as knowledge. So, and that was where my passion goes to, like going into the indigenous knowledges that are from the Americas, that
Mm-hmm.
are just so powerful, so rich, full of solutions for climate change, for wellness,
Mm-hmm.
for and therefore for solutions that are applicable in like business number one, visionary in terms of school systems, but in a lot. So I decided, you know what, I think I need to go out of this rigid system that only allows the Western um, verification system. It
Mm-hmm.
needs a little, and so I decided to go into more of the business consultancy route with a little bit of more space to and to be able to explore that within me, to embody that knowledge that I had already acquired and live it.
Yeah.
And therefore, it's like that gift of being able to have that navigation system and
Yes.
receive so much. So I really recommend it to you all.
That's incredible. But you said something about explaining some things logically, but there is a
Mm.
fine line now between science and spirituality. There's a lot of things that cannot be explained in science just by saying this is a light, or we feel the light, or feel that. And that's brings us into, what spirituality is. And so more and more we're seeing this in the research this
Yeah.
year's actually, that there is something is touching the two, but we don't
Yes.
know yet.
Definitely. Yeah, I love having conversations with physicists.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
it's really good conversations.
Quantum
Uh,
physics, because
quantum
it's
physics is
there is
great.
something that is so connected to spirituality in that.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like spirituality is just such an umbrella of everything. Um, yeah, and I mean, I love science. Like it was my favorite subject of when I was a kid
Uh-huh.
with mathematics. So yeah, just to say, like, it's not like I don't appreciate it. I do. And I'm glad that more and more is opening up within the science, and things are blending, right? So
Things
it's
are
really good.
blended. Exactly it.
Yeah, yeah. So
Very
it's
nice.
really good. Yeah, and at the end, like spirituality, like the soul is just like information.
Uh-huh.
Someone who I really appreciate would explain it like this: like everything is information, and just calling that everything has a soul or spirit. I like how like a lot of the elders from indigenous communities and wisdoms, they call it spirit. So like spirit is just information. So it'd be like quantum information, just like the tiniest information, and just go into the tiniest. So
Yeah.
I'm excited. Yeah, it's
This is
it's
very
it's cool.
exciting. And this is
Mhm.
fascinating. And it's just, to me, it's more and more diving into the quantum physics, which I studied right before. And but
Oh,
now, yeah,
okay.
yeah, because I'm an engineer and I did that and I did quantum physics. And now I'm going back. I'm like, what? Let's go back and understand what didn't, because I we couldn't understand it at back then. It's like, what is,
Yeah.
because we used to just one plus one equal this, triangles, things that are just simple. But that one is like, whoop, beyond. And I think we can understand it only when we surrender to
Mm.
the spirituality. That's what we really understand. That's when it makes sense.
Definitely. Yeah, and I feel like to wrap it with the feminine, the way that the feminine is that surrender to mystery and to just not knowing, like
Mystery,
in a
yes.
very quantifiable way, just to allow the mystery to like soak your soul or soak
Yeah.
your emotions or your experience or your day.
I
Like,
like that.
okay, what
I
would
like
it be
that.
like
I
if
love
I
the word
did
mystery, the way you
business like
use
this?
it. Yeah. I think mystery is
Thank
even
you.
more
And I
powerful.
love that you're a physicist.
Yes. And so to me, I would say the feminine energy and the feminine word and how you connect with that. It's also that's how you connect with magic, magic in you, magic in life, creating the magic. But it's
Mm.
it's really the
Mhm.
mystery that turns out
Mhm.
to be magic, actually. Yeah.
Mhm.
That's beautiful. I love
Yeah,
this
I
conversation.
love it.
This is very different
Oh,
than when
thank
we
you.
So whoever was watching us on a replay, let us know how you find this discussion around spirituality and how do you connect with that and how do you actually see that in your life and whether or not you're able to consider that to surrender to what spirituality means and could mean actually. Yeah. Mm, very nice.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Vero,
Mhm.
for this beautiful conversation. Wanted to keep
Thank
it short.
you.
Do you want to say one last word about the work you do? And
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Um, what do I say? This beautiful space. Well, first, thank you so much for having me. It's nice to chat. And since I said I love talking with people with quantum physics, it's like okay, great. It's meant to be. That
oh
feels
yeah.
really aligned. Feels nice.
Mm.
Yeah, and yeah, a little bit of what I do. If anyone's interested, or just to share, my program is called Claim Your Corazon. Corazon is heart.
Yes, of course.
Um, and
Yeah.
yeah, and it's a one-on-one incubator. So I work one-on-one with people.
Yeah.
Right now, for those who like human design, I'm a projector, and there's a lot of magic that happens when
Mm.
there's one-on-one. So I'm right now in this mode of discovering how that feels and like
Mm.
really drenching in that. But I do work in community as well. I love holding spaces, very intimate, connecting with our feminine power, as well as the moon, and having moon and womb um, practices. And I go through the journey with one on one with people, and then gather together.
Mm.
So yeah, and it's all about connecting with yourself. That's what I wanted to really say, and,
Love
and
that.
that's why I love the question. I was like, what is it for you? Because that's you are the one experiencing your reality. So that's a number one. It's like being good with you, and from then it trickles outside, and community, of course, is such an important part of it. But really, it's to make that connection is super important. And so I help people make empowered decisions and achieve that inner foundation to really
Wonderful.
be in that path. Yes.
Wonderful. Well, congratulations for the work you
Thank
do. And
you.
I wish you all the
Mhm.
success.
Oh,
And
thank
we
you.
will absolutely continue our beautiful conversation. So, thank you everyone for watching us. Let us know what are your thoughts on the replay. And I look forward to
Mhm.
seeing you next. So, I'll keep you backstage and we will reconnect.